starting tool and the kind of audit performance checking tool. Now, the good news is, as many of you know, we're actually in the process of developing that second level tool, which is to accompany SMEs on their audits and to track their performance, but it's a big need. Let me stop and see if anybody has any particular questions on Diogo's work and what he's still continuing to do with the IGO assistant and his students. Would anybody have a particular question they'd like to raise? Even from the experience of usability or actually his experience of working with SMEs, if anybody would like to jump in on that. Arab, please.
Yes, thank you. Very interesting application. Just 2 comments. I mean, we cannot expect the small and medium enterprises, mainly the small ones, to have a properly established audit system. So the support to be provided to them need to be funded, and there comes the work that we can do with them on resource efficiency, saving resources, looking through the value chain, and see how effectively by improving the management of their resources, they can have little additional resources to help them work on a monitoring system to be useful and so on. So I think we have to be careful not to expect, and you said it clearly, Hannes, that this is your next step. The other issue is what is the need of including the planetary boundary issues when talking about with small and medium enterprises? This is far from their priorities and day-to-day work. So we should avoid diversion and rather focus on the local priorities where to find solution. Just the 2 comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Arab. I don't know, Diogo, if you want to answer about the planetary boundaries.
Yeah, actually the planetary boundaries, in my point of view, is important because we can provide the IGO system will have the benchmarking. We can put as a benchmark the planetary boundaries because you can use the planetary boundaries, stratify the data using sharing principles per sector. And at the end of the process, of course, we need to update the tool, putting more information because the SMEs would need to provide more information about, for example, carbon footprint, etc. But we can use this information in the end of the evaluation. We compare if that result is generating a good, not good, but if the result is respecting the planetary boundaries, because be good is not enough. The idea is we respect the planetary boundaries. This is the mainstream today. This is when you talk about state of the art in environmental management, planetary boundaries is the next step. So in my point of view, if SMEs or a large company, well, this is something that they need to understand. And I think this kind of tool would be a good way to communicate this complex information that is planetary boundaries, because it's very specific. The indicators are very specific in terms of science needs to understand what we're talking about. But if you use this kind of tool, you can facilitate the communication with SMEs. And I believe you could use these planetary boundaries in the end of the process when we show the benchmarking comparison. This is something that I'm developing on this project that I said here about the circular bioeconomy maturity scale for SMEs here in Brazil. When I have some results, I can share with you, of course, to receive your feedback. But in general, this is the main idea. I don't know if it's clear, but the main idea is that to facilitate the inclusion of planetary boundaries with SMEs, basically.
Thank you very much, Diogo. And we, Arab, I don't know if you have a follow-on from that. Otherwise, we have a question in the chat. Yeah. Okay. This is from Anna. Anna is here in the audience, so to speak, and she's asking if the Brazilian SMEs that took part in your study, if they get any government or development cooperation support in relation to resource efficiency. So Diogo, if that's okay for you to follow up on, otherwise, Anna, I'll let you take the mic and you can expand on that if you want.
No, yeah, we have some in Brazil we have SEBRAE. It's like a government consultancy, let's say, that help SMEs to advance in terms of business model, and they are starting looking at the sustainability issues as well. So we have this kind of service, but I would say this is far from the work that we are doing here. They are more focused on passive strategies, not proactive strategies. It's more waste disposal, incinerations, kind of stuff. Respecting environmental laws that we have, it's kind of stuff, I would say. So it's limited, the service provided by the government, I would say.
So Anna, if you would like to bring ITC to Brazil and create a hub there, I'm sure it would work really well. Maybe what I'll do is, Anna, I think it's quite interesting, the work you're doing as well. Maybe you want to give a quick hello from ITC and give a quick explanation of the work you're doing, because there might be some other interested people here in knowing what you're doing and what you're planning to do with the hubs. I think it's, if I can use the opportunity to let you quickly introduce that.
Thank you, Haynes. Thank you also, Diogo. I'm also from Brazil, so I would be very keen to start a hub in Brazil as well. My name is Anna Battaglioni. I work at the International Trade Center, which is the joint agency of the United Nations and the World Trade Organization. Our HQ is based in Geneva, but we have projects and initiatives in most of developing countries worldwide. And I come specifically from a program called Trade and Environment, on which we support small businesses and also local institutions to integrate sustainability into their business practices. And resource efficiency and circularity is one of the areas of work that we have been developing over the past years. And the program Haynes just mentioned, the Green Hubs, is our flagship initiative that is mainly working with ecosystem enablers. So the local institutions that are supporting the SMEs. So as Diogo mentioned, in Brazil, we have SEBRAE. We would work with SEBRAEs from other countries to integrate services and offerings that are linked to environmental sustainability. And we are collaborating with Haynes and Tracy over the past months, mainly into fronts, the Green to Compete hubs, since we are refreshing our strategy. And as of today, we have over 7 hubs established worldwide. And we don't have yet in Brazil, but we hope we can establish one in the near future. And also we have been collaborating regarding an online platform that is complementary to the work of iGo. So actually, I'm very happy and pleased to be here. Thanks to Tracy and Hans for the invitation, because I also see some complementarities to the work we do on the tool that is not launched yet, but it will be also an online tool, a global public good called Green Performance Toolkit, that mainly covers quantitative data collection and environmental performance. And maybe I'll stop here, Haynes, in interest of time, but I'm also very happy to share more information. And perhaps in an upcoming meeting, I can also introduce more the tool that I think it's also complementing the work of iGo Assistant, and then we can have a discussion.
Thank you very much, Anna. No, I think it's very interesting for the others here to hear the work you're doing. Now, I know that Diogo has to leave literally in a couple of minutes because he's on a schedule. But I also know someone else, Branko, who is here, is also due to leave. But I wanted to use this opportunity because Branko has worked before with the RECP network. That was a network of all the RECP centers around the world. And what's interesting, Branko, is that what Anna is doing is a little bit like what RECP Network was set up to do. And I don't know if you have literally, I know you have to leave in a couple of minutes, but maybe if you have just a couple of minutes to share your quick experience with Anna, and I think it could be interesting for the two of you also to connect at a later stage, considering your big role in the RECP network in the past.
Yeah, I mean, RecipeNet unfortunately does not exist formally anymore. We are in contact with each other. There are centers coming and going. And just for Anna to understand, that was back 7, 8, maybe 10 years ago, there was a project financed by the Swiss government to create a network of the cleaner production centers in the world. And we had also a charter, general assembly, everything, executive committee, etc. And the idea was that this network becomes self-sustainable. That means that each center pays some fee, and of this fee, there will be, costs that will be covered, costs related to existence of the network. We wanted to register this network as a legal entity, but then we were confronted with many, bureaucratic and administrative issues, so we gave up. And finally, yeah, it was the biggest challenge for me and for most of the people, and why it was not really successful, was that we couldn't find some added value for the members to be a member. That means our members were interesting to get projects, to have networking, etc. But every member was in a different region, and we couldn't find the common projects on a global level. We tried to use UNIDO as our partner to promote the network in European Union, and I don't know, some African Union, etc., in order to get projects for the GLAD network as such. But no, the members, they were getting jobs and projects and assignments themselves, and then they were just using this membership in the network as a marketing tool. But finally, yeah, the good thing is that we know each other, and there are some 20 centers still alive and functioning, and we are in a contact. And my friend Andriy from Ukraine, he is also a member. I mean, his center was a member of the RecipeNet, and yeah, that's how we started to know each other, and we exchange opportunities. So that was some experience from me. So I don't know if it's valuable for Anna or not.
Indeed, I think, Anna, I know you have to run, so I'm going to say thank you on behalf of Anna, because I think, Anna, you want to jump off for 10 minutes.
Yes, I just want to thank Branko. Indeed, this is very interesting, and I would be very pleased to continue this exchange in a different moment as well. And I will actually be back in 10 minutes, Haynes, so apologies for this little change of plans.
No problem at all.
Yeah,
thank you very much, both of you.
I also have to go. Thank you for this inputs. I'm sorry, I didn't even have this in my calendar. I just saw the mail 5 minutes before the start. But yeah, Anna, welcome to contact me, and wish you all a good meeting.
Thank you very much, Branko. And I'm very happy to have put you in touch with Anna, because there's lots happening in that sphere. So thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay, so this is an entire conversation we could actually continue with, because the work that Anna's doing and the experience of the RECP network is very, very relevant. And ITC really is becoming a big player in this area. So I think it'll be quite interesting. We can actually have maybe another chat about this later on in this roundtable about that, if anybody's interested. I know that, for example, we have Tich here from Zimbabwe, who might be interested to know about potential opportunities for RECP centers in Zimbabwe, for example. I know we always have this conversation, Tich, but what I'd like to do for the moment is to jump quickly to an introduction of the EU-funded project that we will just be kicking off on circular economy. So just bear with me for 10 seconds while I share my screen and give you an introduction to this. So sorry, one moment. So I will just go quickly here. So what has happened is that we have been working with the European Commission around a new EU action called Accelerating the Global Transition to a Green and Circular Economy. And what this action is, it's an action that has actually 3 key objectives. As you can see here, one is focused on strengthening policies and general global debate on the idea of an inclusive and green circular economy. The second one is enhancing knowledge generation and management. And the third is more working with society, civil society, in terms of sustainable consumption and production in line with social justice. And this EU action is actually, like I said, broken into these 3 objectives, and each objective has been delivered by a different organization. So as you can see, the first one, the kind of the policy global area, is being delivered by PAGE. The knowledge generation management side is by us in the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership, and the one with civil society has been delivered by the Green Economy Coalition. So what I want to do today is talk about the part that the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership is delivering, although it must be said we'll be working very closely with the other organizations on their parts as well. So this project has literally just been finalized. We're in the process of kickstarting it. And the part being delivered by GGKP is broken into 3 components. The first component is where we are going to be bringing evidence-based knowledge to the policy community around the topic of circular economy. So really, how can we bring on the ground lessons learned, insights into practical evidence-based knowledge for the policy community? The second component is about how can we better support all the different initiatives working on circular economy or supporting circular economy. What we mean by initiatives, that could be an organization, like an NGO, providing capacity building to some type of stakeholder on circular economy. It could be an EU-funded technical assistance project, etc. So really, it can be kind of a program, an organization, a project supporting the implementation of circular economy. So the idea with that second component is supporting all of these different types of initiatives to be able to essentially do their work better with information available. And the third component is really getting down to, we'll say, the ground level and supporting the business case for circular economy within industry. How can we work with industry, in particular SMEs, to help them be aware of the business case for circular economies? So looking at each of these components individually, as you can see, it's very much working on a policy level, supporting policymakers, then on the kind of the supporting organization level with these initiatives, and then really on the ground level, supporting SMEs, all around the idea of knowledge generation, management, and sharing. So if we look at the first component, let's say the policy-oriented component, the idea here is how can we bring best practice knowledge and learnings from the different initiatives to support national strategies, policies on circular economy. Now, what does that mean we'll be doing? Well, basically, we're trying to bring to the attention of policymakers all the evidence-based knowledge on circular economy, but we'll also be aiming to support the different global and regional circular economy alliances that are active already around the world. In practical terms, it means that we within GGKP will be providing much more enhanced country pages, which will be for each country providing targeted knowledge data. We'll be doing very active communities of practice through our Green Forum, supported by a new application, which will soon be coming. Targeted webinars, a lot about communication and outreach. How can we really do a strong communication campaign to get this information out to the different types of actors, stakeholders involved in this component? Of course, what we also want to do, in particular for the Circular Economy Alliances, is see how we can bring insights from the ground, from both the end users, but also the different initiatives up to that kind of global regional level as well. So that'll be that's kind of a quick summary of what we'll be doing around this component one. Now, as we said, a lot of this is very much in line with the work that GGKP already does, but it'll be on an enhanced basis. The idea with this EU funded project is we're going to be able to do this a lot better and more efficiently going forward. Now, the second component, as I mentioned, was about supporting initiatives and really enhancing their capacity to support end users, in particular SMEs, to implement circular economy on a local level. So what you have is you have a lot of different projects, organizations around the world, each one doing their piece of work on the circular economy, but there's not a great exchange of information. And as you know already through the IGO project or initiative, this is something we're constantly trying to do. How can we improve the exchange of knowledge, of information, of lessons learned between the different projects and organizations? So the idea is to take that experience and really do it on a larger scale, covering also circular economy. Now, to give you an idea of what we'll be doing here, of course, one of the first things is mapping what initiatives are out there, what they're doing, where their focus areas are in terms of country, in creating a network out of those different initiatives. So we already have, for example, our IGO community here, but we want to expand that to bring in all of these circular economy initiatives. There'll be a lot of work around workshops and discussions so that we can exchange between the different initiatives. Now, because knowledge is a key part of all of this, one of the things we're actually already working on is improving the different types of knowledge taxonomies that are out there. So let's not just talk about circular economy. Let's break it up into the different phases of a circular economy. Let's talk about the different topics that are involved within circular economy. Let's bring together the information in a very targeted way according to very specific taxonomy. So this is a piece of work we're actually already working on. And then we want to move away from this kind of manual collection of information. How can we automate this? How can we have automatic connections between different databases so that as information is produced, it's automatically shared? And of course, we also have our initiative pages, these mini websites, to be able to provide an improved online presence to different initiatives that might be able to do it on their own. So that is the quick summary of this component 2, supporting the initiatives. Now, component 3 is very much about SMEs. And as you can imagine, that's very linked to the work we're doing already within IGO. And the idea is essentially to upscale this and enhance the work we're doing there. We're already doing work with the IGO assistant, but as you know, the IGO assistant could be improved, and that's something we're doing. And we also want to develop a second tool, which is the IGO implementation manager, to help companies carry out audits. And of course, we're doing the customized IGO tools, where an organization can have a branded IGO tool for their own use. And that's something we hope to roll out en masse next year. We're piloting it at the moment with EBRD, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and UNIDO. So we hope to have these for everybody's use from 2024 onwards. Big part of the SME component is also the IGO community, which you're a part of. How can we enhance this, bring more actors in? Here I have the word delivering training workshops. In fact, that should be training workshops. And this will also be quite important because we've seen already that even though we're working with a lot of organizations that are our interfaces to SMEs, it's still very important to have workshops for the SMEs themselves. So we've done that on a kind of trial basis over the last year, and we'd like to roll that out on a more systematic level. And of course, the big one here, analyzing end user needs. This will be really crucial because, again, this is the on-the-ground work that we then need to bring back up to the policymakers and the initiatives. So that is the quick summary of the EU-funded project that we are literally in the process of kickstarting at the moment. So let me stop there. Some of you might have already some questions on that project. Of course, the idea is to work with all of you through the support of this project to see how we can help you. So happy to hear if any of you have initial questions to start with. looking for the first hand to be raised to say they want to be part of this project? Titch, yes, please.
Thank you so much, Hans and colleagues. Just a quick one, because really, the issue of circular economy, it's a very new concept. And also it is a seriously misunderstood concept. And we in Zimbabwe, we've been trying to kind of, push that agenda since last year. And I'm happy to see that the EU, and I believe that EU Brussels, if I'm not mistaken, who's now, going to be working with you, collaborating with you. But my question is, how best can we also ensure or excite the EU in field offices to kind of, link up with this agenda which you and EU Brussels are putting on the table?
Thank you very much, Titch. And we're actually lucky because we have Tibor from the European Commission, who is essentially my focal point there in relation to this project. So Tibor, I will jump to you in a second, if I may, on that particular question, because I don't want to speak for the entire Commission on this. But maybe, Titch, just very quickly, in terms of the project that we will be undertaking with the EU support, the idea is, one, as you know, we've been trying through the IGO initiative to build up this community. We've been trying to engage with everybody. We've had limited, obviously, funds to do this. Now we'll have stronger support to be able to enhance this. So one of the things we would definitely like to be doing through this project is making those connections for you. So for example, helping you connect with the EU delegations in the different countries. As a starting point, but also to help you, to connect you better with different, not just the, let's say, the EU delegations, but other projects that are active either in your country or outside. Our resources have been quite limited to date. Hopefully now we'll be able to do this on a more efficient basis. So that will be a big part of the first stage of the project. I had mentioned mapping out. As a result of us mapping out who's doing what, we can then better connect you to those projects and programs. So just to reassure you that that is a kind of a crucial first step in what we're doing. But maybe, Tibor, because that was quite a general question as well in relation to the EU and circular economy, I don't know if you would like to also jump in maybe with a quick perspective from the Commission side.
Well, I think you have explained quite well, Hannes. So I don't think I could really define much better than what is our intention, obviously, with this project, which is a part of a greater project, what we call in the European Commission language action. As you mentioned, there were the 3 objectives, mostly related to policy on the green transition. And then your part, which is more the more knowledge-based part, and the third one is the linkage with considering the civil society in this role in the transition. And I mean, when I look at what is our goal, obviously it's very much linked to our climate objectives in Europe, to the Paris Agreement, the greenhouse gas reduction, and of course to create support the transition of the economy in a way that our development will become environmentally completely sustainable. And this is really a new area. Sometimes I feel like I'm blindfolded and let into a forest to find how to say the tallest tree or something like that. But obviously, this is, I think, a very beginning of an initiatives, and it's built on several initiatives what we had in the past. And we have initiative, for example, related to value chain, how to transform the value chain, which is basically a global pilot project. We also support some regional initiatives like the Switch Africa initiative, which is to support the green transition in Africa. There is another project for Switch Asia as a regional one, also another one in the Mediterranean. In addition, obviously, all the internal market project, which I'm not that aware of, I have to admit. And we provide, obviously, the support in our EU delegation, which for their programming of cooperation, which spans the period of 21-27, we support their programs on related to, environment program, which can be, of course, just a very basic part of the green transition, like waste management, but also a program which is basically supporting the green strategy of the country. So I think what Hannes mentioned, that what we really want to see, that have a much better picture of not only who is doing what, but how can we, how information could be available, because I think a lot of stakeholders in this game very much disoriented whom to turn to. And also I think there are also different initiatives, so we want to connect them and make this whole thing, especially the knowledge base and the connection part, much more efficient. So this is the objective in the long run. Of course, we also believe that Europe is taking quite a lead in this green transition, so there is a proposal on the table to use what has been working in Europe to transpose to other part of the world, and that would be the next project program we are proposing for the approval of the Commission and the member states. So I don't know if I can, if you have any other question. I would say that it's not so easy, obviously, to explain, but I think we are trying to, we want to take is more a coordinating role in this respect.
Thank you very much, Tibor, and I hope that you can see that the future is looking brighter on us being able to support you, get in touch with organizations that will be able to help, especially your work in Zimbabwe. So this would be kind of what will be interesting, and I would say this to everybody here, is to actually hear from you which types of organizations, initiatives you think would be important for you to be in touch with in your country, in your region. Now, this could be, for example, saying, I want to get in touch with the EU delegation, or it could also be a case of, I want to get in touch with a development bank, whatever it may be. But already giving us that type of feedback will help us in our mapping exercise to make sure that we're prioritizing certain types of initiatives, organizations from the beginning, to be able to introduce you to them. Tibor, you still have your mic off. Did you want to add something?
No.
Okay,
sorry. No.
Okay. Now, I also had a question from Anastasia. Anastasia, would you like to jump in quickly with your question? Yes.
Yeah, you can see me and hear. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm an international consultant. I work in the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. And thank you so much for presenting your upcoming project. I have a question. How, with our initiative that you have, we can fit into your, I would say, project, or maybe how you can keep us in your database for opportunities in the circular economy. Basically, we are working now. I'm just talking about smaller initiatives as an example, with business incubators and accelerators network in Central Asia. And we have a particular interest, for example, from Uzbekistan on innovating industries of the country towards the circular economy. And we started making certain steps this year, and more practically work on improving the capacities of business incubators and accelerators. How can they support startups? So it's a little bit before starting SMEs. It's like even a starting stage, and we are like carrying out certain work in this area. But as you mentioned, that yes, our role capacities are quite limited, and there is project ending, etc. But we have a network and contacts and like accumulated insights that we on our side will also like to share in a project like yours. So I would just like to keep us in mind if it's interesting for you, because you didn't mention which kind of region you cover in your project. Will it be like global project or some kind of regional? Yeah, that's all I wanted to comment on my side.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. And it's exactly the kind of question we like to guess. And you made a very good point. We did not explain actually the reach of this project. The good news is it's a global, and this whole EU action is a global action. And to support, in fact, it's global to be able to support all the national and regional efforts. So for sure, we cover your region. And most certainly, we would like to definitely connect with you to see how we can incorporate your work to date. I mean, the more we can interconnect with existing networks, the better it is for everybody. And of course, one, how can we make sure that the work you've done today, to date, stays alive? And of course, if we can upscale it. And even better, bring you in touch with other initiatives, other projects, other outcomes, etc. So yes, exactly the type, you've described exactly what we're trying to do. In fact, this is what we're there for. This is the objective of this global action as well. So please do reach out to us directly after this, and we'll probably simply have a bilateral where we'll use you as a best case example.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Maybe you can indicate your email in the chat and I'll send you the information.
Yes, we will do that straight away.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So this is exactly the kind of conversation we're trying to start off through this EU-funded project. You can see, like I said, we're really at a starting point. The more feedback, the more questions we get from yourselves, the better we're going to be able to get this up and running in an adapted way. So delighted to get these questions already. Would anybody else like to jump in with a question on this EU action at this stage? Tatiana.
Yes, if I may. Hello, thank you, Hannes, for inviting me, reminding about the meeting actually, and for speaking about this initiative. I'm glad that we have many of UNIDO related experts here as well, because indeed UNIDO works on resource efficiency for more than 3 decades, and we are also bridging it with circular economy initiatives, working with companies. So I'm glad that we were discussing this information flow and knowledge management as one of the aspects which requires support, and congratulations on having that actually supported and moving forward with it within the new program. For sure, maybe not as a question, but rather as a statement of confirmation from our side. We would like to use and promote the use of this of those tools, and to benefit from your knowledge management tools with our projects. Currently, the ongoing EU-funded EU for Environment program in Eastern Partnership region is already linked, and some of our partners who are indeed the business support institutions are using it maybe in the pilot phase. So how would you see the next steps to engage the programs, or is there a connection between the current program, what its duration, and what's the scope of it for the time being, in view of the EU for Environment outgoing program and forthcoming regional and bilateral programs in the Eastern Partnership region in particular? I'm speaking here about the particular region which I'm working in. So would you please explain and enlighten us? Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Tatiana. And the EU for Environment program, I suppose, is a really good example. Again, I'm very happy to get all these examples to describe what we're trying to do, because as you said, yes, it's a program that has done a lot of good work. It has brought a lot of results, and now, of course, it comes to an end. Now, highly likely there's a new program that will happen in the region, etc., but it's not a direct, these programs are never really, they're very often not direct carry-ons. So all of the results that have come out of the EU for environment. Number one, it should be our responsibility to make sure that they stay alive, that they don't get lost, and that they are continue to be shared with the wider community. So essentially, one, we're supposed to share while a project or initiative produces, and we should keep the results alive after the end of a project. These are two basic fundamental things we should be doing with this, through this action. And I think that's very important because information needs to be shared, and it should be shared also in real time. You shouldn't be sharing information at the end of a project. You should be sharing information as it's produced. So in this case, the EU for Environment project is coming to an end. We're going to, one, make sure that the information stays alive and continues to be used. And that's also relevant for any other EU-funded project that starts in that region. Obviously, they're going to want to come and have access to this information, have access to the networks, etc., which might not be evident. If we can support in that and make sure there's a seamless transfer, all the better. So describing it in those two simple ways, we're there to make sure it stays alive and continues to be of use. Now, of course, what's also interesting is, Tatiana, you're from UNIDO. UNIDO has other projects in other regions and in other countries. And of course, what we'll be very interested to do is be working with UNIDO to see how we can also support their projects, share, I suppose, not just with each other, but outside as well, because EU for Environment would not be the only project that the UNIDO is involved in. So, for example, you have the Switch to Circular Economy project, which is very important, and making sure that that gets out to the wider audience as well. So I hope that gives a quick overview of what should come out of this action, what should be delivered through this action.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, would anybody else like to ask a question on the EU project? If not, what I would like to do, because we have Cheryl here from ILO, who a while ago actually already had spoken a little bit about their work. And I believe, Cheryl, you could give us an update that could be quite relevant to everybody here. And again, I think this is exactly what we're trying to do through all of this, is make sure everybody knows what everybody's doing. So Cheryl, I think this is a great opportunity to let you jump in and give a quick update from your work. I think it could be quite interesting for everybody.
Thanks so much, Hannes, for the opportunity. And first of all, I need to apologize for joining late because I had another meeting that runs a bit later. But yeah, I might have missed some of the interesting discussions in the beginning, but I fully resonate with the point that Hannes just made. It's important to share the knowledge that has been generated from the projects, and we need to also try to keep it alive even after the project has ended. So yeah, first of all, I also want to introduce myself briefly about my work. So I'm working in the ILO based in Geneva, and currently I'm working in the SME unit and mainly managing a program called SCORE, which aims to improve productivity and working conditions in SMEs. So I already mentioned in the roundtable last time that we have tried to strengthen our efforts in greening SME, which is why we have launched a new training module called SCORE for Climate, which aims to support SMEs to start their path toward a circular economy. So yeah, because I've mentioned it last time already, I don't want to bore you with all the details. I'll just share the links with you in the chat so you can look at it yourself if you're interested. So recently our team also published an annual update, and I'll also put it in the chat so you can have a look at all the initiatives that has been happening in different countries. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a new module on SCORE for Climate, and this has been piloted in Kyrgyzstan and Bolivia, and where the piloting is still ongoing. But we have an interesting update from Mauritius. So because we have some work that has been done on RECP previously, because it has been quite successful, that's why the Ministry of Environment from Mauritius actually funded the current implementation of the SCORE for Climate module. And they have started the first phase of supporting 10 SMEs in piloting the SCORE for Climate module related to the circular economy. So I think that this is one of the initial achievement that we have, and we are now trying to compile some case studies. So we'll be able to share with you shortly. And yeah, hopefully I can maybe benefit from the global network that you have to really disseminate the results, and also hopefully the good practices would be able to benefit partners from other countries as well. So in addition to the SCORE program, I also like to mention briefly that our team is actually organizing an event for the COP28 in Dubai later this year. I think this will also be a good platform for us to share what we are currently doing in promoting RECP and circularity among SMEs. So that's all I'd like to share. Thank you, Hannes, again.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. It's much appreciated. And I'm getting loads of great examples of how we should be working on all of these things, because you mentioned Mauritius in what you said there. And I think Mauritius is the hotspot at the moment, because in the last few weeks, I've heard about so many different programs and organizations getting involved in Mauritius. And it's what we're there for. We're there to hear what everybody's doing and say, okay, ILO is doing something, Mauritius organization X is doing something, Mauritius organization Y is doing something, Mauritius. We should be looking at this together, because we might be doing overlaps. We might be working with the same companies, but in a different way. Because one thing for sure is SMEs, companies, business associations, they get quite frustrated when they're approached by different organizations at the same time. It looks uncoordinated. So a clear example here is, how could we, through this EU-funded project, for example, taking Mauritius, help make sure that all the organizations or projects we know are active there kind of collaborate a little bit on sharing information. So they go in a coordinated approach to the business associations, they go in a coordinated approach to the government, etc. So Cheryl, we'll be very happy to put you in touch with a couple of other initiatives and organizations active there, because I think your experience already through the SCORE Climate could be quite interesting, plus what they're doing I think could be very interesting for you as well. And if I may add, one of the other things here I think we should mention is events. Cheryl, you're going to COP28 side events. This is quite interesting. Lots of other organizations will be doing different events. I think it's always good to cross-promote. If there's a way that some key projects that are of relevance could be cross-promoted by everybody, it's to everyone's benefit. So I think this is something as well we'll be aiming to do through this EU action, is helping organizations cross-promote, because it's going to be to their benefit. If they promote the work of another organization, they know they're going to be promoted by them as well. So hopefully we'll be able to support this as well going forward. One thing, Cheryl, I'd like to ask is the SCORE Climate training course that you're doing. You've mentioned it's quite new. Overall, how has your experience been with this? Do you find it that SMEs are interested in this type of training, that they kind of go for it, or is it still more of an obligation to them?
So from my experience, SMEs in some countries started to become interested. For example, actually, we just recently got a request from Ghana. They, some of the SMEs become interested because, there were some lead buyers who started to impose some new restrictions regarding some environmental friendly regulations. I think, additionally, there are some new donors who are interested in funding some new projects with a greening component. I think, because of these incentives, SMEs are becoming increasingly aware. But still, I have to say, when we are trying to implement this module among SMEs, their knowledge of circular economy is really very limited. And not just among SMEs, actually, even among our pool of trainers, because we have trained a pool of SCORE trainers over the years. But while many of them are very experienced with the concept related to RECP, the circular economy is really something very new for them. And this is something that we are trying to work on in building the capacity of the trainers.
Thank you very much. I think that's quite interesting, also in terms of the trainers, having the right trainers on board. And this is actually another, I suppose, interesting point to raise, is that there are a number of different organizations out there that do train the trainers on different topics. And I think what can also be interesting going forward is how can these experts be kind of cross organizations? Again, not that every organization has to retrain from the start, but for how can these already trained experts be put to better use or, you know, up trained by different organizations. So I think probably interesting as well is to look at how can we share information about experts and put them to best use, those that are already trained. So that could be quite interesting as well. We're coming close to the end of this particular roundtable. I just realized I missed one question in the chat from Michael, who was asking about organizations or projects in EU. For example, Michael used the example of Austria, where you were asking those kind of national initiatives, whether they're agencies or ministries, working on circular economy, if they would also be involved in this project. And yes, the idea is, this is, I think, an interesting point to make, is that through this EU action, we also facilitate inside, outside EU exchange of information. There's a lot happening inside the EU, there's a lot happening outside the EU, but it's not often very connected. And we've already come across situations where the experience of RECP assessments in EU-funded projects outside the EU are actually be more advanced than what's been done inside the EU. So lessons learned from EU-funded projects outside the EU can actually be used also within the EU, so vice versa. So definitely, yes, we'll be there to try and support exchange of information from EU member state work and development work outside the EU. So that would also be an important aspect of this project. But please, if anybody else would like to pose a last question or give a quick update on work they're doing before we conclude this particular roundtable, now is your opportunity. Raise your hand and you can become famous by being the last person to speak. I don't see, do we have one? No, we don't have a particular one coming up. Okay, so all I would then like to do is remind you that the next IGO Community Roundtable is going to be on the 14th of December, so a little kind of pre-Christmas event for you to take note of. We'll of course be in touch to remind you of that. If you have a particular piece of work you would like to showcase with the others here, please feel free to let us know. We can let you have a quick presentation. And of course, we will be giving you updates on how we're moving forward with the EU action as well. So hopefully by December, it'll be well underway and we'll have some more information we can share with you. With that, I would like to thank you again for joining. I can see that having it as an hour and a quarter means a lot of people drop off at the hour, but thank you all for staying on. It's very much appreciated. And I look forward a lot to seeing you again soon. And of course, we'll be in touch over the next while anyway, with obviously information about the work we're doing to the funded project. So thank you all very much, and until again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Hannes and Tracy. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.